Nestled in a beautiful sea of trees and mountains lies one of the more quaint racetracks on the iRacing service, Okayama International Circuit. This 2.3-mile Japanese track may be hard to get to for some, but once fans and drivers get here, some never want to leave. Today, the Quality Racing Sim-dicate will be preparing for battle in their Skippies, MX-5s, and SRFs on this tight circuit. It's the Ashbury Motorsports Sports Car Challenge Series live from Western Japan, up next on the Global Sim Racing channel. Konnichiwa and welcome to round 4 of the inaugural season of the Ashbury Motorsports Sports Car Challenge Series from the Okayama Prefecture in Japan. Alongside me in the booth today is Bill's Campbell's Chicken Noodle Soup Zon, and our director who will make sure we do not catch on fire is Joe Peak for tonight's race. We'll be using cameras provided by the great Dougie Beard. Well guys, this track may be about an hour from the nearest capital city by car, but it's worth it to drive to this circuit. With its tight sections, multiple passing zones, and picture-perfect scenery, this could be a great race to watch for these next 45 minutes. Soup, why don't you tell us a little bit more to what to expect for today's race?
It's split pea, baby, not chicken noodle. Split pea, named after the relatively remote city from where it is located. Okayama opened in 1990 as a private track where the wealthy could safely drive their high-priced toys at speeds they were built for. The track quickly earned respect, and just 4 years later, it was hosting Formula One Pacific Grand Prix, doing it a second time in '95. Both races were won by Michael Schumacher. Because of its remote location, some 200 miles southwest of Tokyo, Okayama no longer stages major international events. But travel is no concern in iRacing's virtual universe, which offers two different configurations: the 2.0 kilometer, 1.3 mile, 7-turn short course, and the track we will be racing on today, the full course that stretches for 3.7 kilometers, 2.3 miles, with 11 turns, including a tight right-hand hairpin that caps a very long back straight. With plenty of places to pass and plenty of places to defend, Okayama rarely fails to put on a good show. But to get an idea of what this place is really like, let's jump on board and take a lap around.
All right, we've got Giancarlo Lenzi in the GSRC MX-5, so let's do a lap around Okayama. Coming up to the first turn, this is one of your best places to pass on the track. Just watch out because it's a late apex, so you could get your nose chopped off. After that, you'll want to switch sides to set up for Williams. There's some negative camber on this corner, so going too wide through here is gonna be tough. And it's not uncommon to see cars oversteer on the exit and slide into the wall on the left, so expect some action out of this area. From there, you just gotta weave your way through the Moss S and then get the car lined up for braking into Atwood. This is another potential place to get an overtake done, but if it was me, I'd wait for the exit of this long uphill right-hander. And that's because we're accelerating for quite a ways down the backstretch, and a good run off the corner is going to be very important. Plus, you add in the effect of the draft on these MX-5s and the hard braking into the hairpin, and you've got the most common passing spot on the track. Seats here are going to be the best ticket in the house. However, the amount of banking around this turn means that sometimes you can hold on in a side-by-side battle and have the inside into revolver. From there, it's a short burst into Piper, where the lack of runoff on the outside means you won't want to come out of it too hot. Then, there's a bit of a straight until Redmond, where if you've got a good run on your opponent, it's sometimes possible to spring a surprise attack. This is one of the slowest, most technical parts of the track, though. You can see, as we climb the hill, it switches back into Hobbs, another 180-degree turn. It's not that exciting of a section, but there's still time to be lost here. After that, it's only going to be a slight lift into Mike Knight and hold to the left for the best line into the final corner. This turn is deceptively fast, and carrying your momentum off of it will be critical to keep from being vulnerable into the first turn. But as long as you kept it together and on the black stuff, you finished a lap around Okayama.
And welcome back, everyone. That was Giancarlo Lenzi behind the wheel and Joe Peak on the mic in your Mazda MX-5 GSRC lap guide machine on this 3.7 kilometer circuit. Now, of course, we've had a great, exciting start to the season so far in the first 3 rounds. And of course, with this series coming down to Japan, The first parts of the standings, I should say, are starting to come into picture a little bit, Soup. Tell us what your thoughts are and what the standings are.
3 races in. Let's go ahead and look at the standings with 3 races in. We'll start with the Skippies. 3 races, 3 different winners. Fahim Antonaitis of the UK is tied with Italy's Enzo Canta. Antonaitis has a win and a pair of thirds. Canta has a win, a second, and a disaster. So, how are they tied, you may ask? I am dying to explain the QRS perfect attendance bonus point system, but I fear half the audience will click away. I will, however, be hosting a seminar about perfect attendance bonus points next month. Before you can have your free CD player gift, both you and your spouse will be required to attend a short sales pitch afterwards. Please bring your checkbook. For our purposes today, Antonaitis and Canta are tied, and that's all really you need to know. Luke Whitten has a win and a second and a no-show. No-show compensation keeps the Australian driver in the hunt. Kane Lasky from the U.S., best result was the second last time out. And the man with the maple leaf, Rob Adams, rounds out the overlay. Let's look at the MX-5s. After a first race blunder that gave his Australian countrymate Richard Losper the win, order has been restored, and Sonny Ketme, if you catch him, has a comfortable lead. There will be no living with the Dutchman Jeroen Ursum if he continues to get podiums. Richard Losper has been feeling a little bit ill. We wish him a quick recovery. Hope you get well soon, Rich. The pride of New Zealand's Jean must finish fittest is next, and with Germany's Rolf Just in the 5th position. Let's go to the SRFs. There's been some infighting at the GSRC campus. Our graphic guys, Andy and Jackson, create the overlays from the SCCS website. Our stat boys, Simon and Poindexter, are claiming that the chart is wrong, and David Gasper should be the point leader. I'm leaning towards the stat boys with 2 wins. I think David Gasper of Germany is indeed the point leader. The UK, Jason Perry and C. Love round out 2nd and 3rd, Angelo Florino in 4th. Okay, that'll do it for your point standings. It'll all be sorted out next week. Look, 3 classes should be a good event.
Yeah, it should be a good event, Curly. 20 cars getting set to take the starting grid, and a few different drivers are still on track, either practicing on their warm-ups or trying to complete their qualifying times. As noted, again, this is a 4-lap qualifying session with 15 minutes. Why don't we go back to those race details as well to make sure if you are a newcomer to the series, you know exactly what you're about to see.
Yeah, all the races are 45 minutes. There are 3 that are 60 minutes. Each car has enough fuel to go 30 minutes. I could give you the percentage, but you'd just be bored. So just assume that they're going to have to make a pit stop about just over halfway. There's no real incident cap, but they are using the MPI bonus points. So if you're a clean driver, the more bonus points you get depending on how you finish on that chart. More about that some other time. No fast repairs. This is Big Boy Racing. You break it, you bought it. Now, this is interesting, though. The final one down there, rolling starts. I guess it's not even on there. Rolling starts, but it's not gridded by class. So you'll have some of the MX-5s and SRFs mixed in there with the Skippies. Some of the slower Skippies will be farther down. That's always fun. These cars are not that much different in time-wise.
Yeah, and to say the least with that, Sonny Kenshin, he's out-qualified about half of the Skip Barbers. That's how quick his time is in the MX-5 with a 1:43.9. Absolutely blazing time for that, as Luke Whitten leads off the grid right now with the Skip Barbers. Kane Lasky still on track, making sure he is 100% feeling correct with this track. Fahim, a few different drivers, Fahim Antonaitis has not completed a time yet, along with Richard Valley.
Not sure if I missed doing my homework there, that maybe Fahim might have picked up a penalty point or something where he wasn't allowed to qualify. Well, I know better. I know the rules in this series, and that's not one of the things that they penalize you for. So let's just assume that Fahim couldn't get in a clean lap, which is surprising. He's got his work cut out for him.
Yeah, he was struggling at times to get in practice more than 6 laps in one go, and was having a little bit of tiny issues. To some, it is described as equipment failure, but he's going to be having to start in the back, and for this, in a mixed grid series, it's going to be something to pay attention to. With those penalty points, by the way, Kane Lasky and Cameron Gridley still come into today's race with 2 penalty points apiece, and of course, they have the option to do an optional drive-through penalty within the first 10 laps of this race to make it to 1 point, but it is not a mandatory situation, but qualifying is just about done, Soup. Quick thoughts.
Yeah, those penalty points won't hurt you unless you make another mistake, so sometimes they roll the dice.
And thank you very much for that quick thought. But let's go from the real world to the virtual track. It's time for your starting grid for round 4 of the Ashbury Motorsports Sports Car Challenge Series. Let's start off with the Skip Barbers, as Luke Whitten is at the top of the boards right now, with Enzo Canta starting alongside him. Kane Lasky in third spot right now, followed by Rob Adams. Cameron Gridley starts in row 3 alongside the MX-5 of Sonny Catch You If You Can Kenshin. Jason Rosenthal starts in row 4 with Thomas Kick, while Gary Wobolt and Riley Rote start off in row 5, Soup.
Then we have a little cross-pollination from the Absolute Beginner Leagues and the Skippies. It is Michael Hoffland coming over, racing in an MX-5. Good to have him in there because that MX-5 is a little bit short of drivers today. David Gaspers, our top SRF driver. Jeroen Ursum, we talked about him in the points. He's sitting in the Baker's Dozen spot. Rob Mills, a Skippy way down here. You see how these classes are mixed up a little bit. Steve Ray and C. Love, a couple SRF drivers, 15th, 16th, and 17th. Let me correct myself, 15 and 16. Joe McDonald down there in 17th in the MX-5. Jeffrey Gramble, he'll be fast, 18th position. Watch him in the SRFs. Now, here's the guy who's going to work his way through the field. Fahim Antonatus, and then Richard Valley in 20th.
Yeah, a nice, decent, in-depth field of varying ranges of skills for this track here at Okayama International Circuit for today. And for some of the back, especially for Antonitis as well as Valet, they're going to have a lot to work through for this race to try and work through this field. How important is it to have this track position, again, at especially such a tight track like this, where it's going to be a bit difficult at times to negotiate around those slower cars, regardless of the pass zones?
I don't think so. With the drafting like it is, I think it should be okay. There should be a lot of time to get around. I got to report, I don't think Antonitis actually made the grid. I'm looking at 19th cars with his spot blank. That's what we're waiting for, but I think he's out of time.
And that could be huge as well, because he was at the higher parts of the standings. In practice, he was in the top 5 for the Skip Barbers, but was having issues getting a proper setup. Was sitting on the track for about 10-15 minutes before officially coming off the track. Now, with these 19 cars, as you mentioned, are getting set to go, they're going to have to come around the track and get on their way, approaching Mike Knight Corner for the start of this race.
Keep an eye on Sonny Catching. He's going to be comfortable in the MX-5. He's going to want to get the overall win today. Pace car pulls off.
Pace car pulls off as they go through the last corner. They're getting all set to go as they come down the front straightaway. We already have a 3-right situation. We haven't even taken the green flag yet. And now we're underway here for the Ashbury Motorsports Sports Car Challenge Series in round number 4. And we're off to a bit of a cluster start to start off.
Luke Whitten really made everybody wait on that when they were chomping at the bit to go. The field really bunched up. I was worried, but it was clean.
Was clean. Almost a bit of a tap on the front nose in that situation for Enzo Canta.
Oh, we got one guy off. Oh, it's a big one. It is Jason Rosenthal. He spins, he gets collected, he gets bumped by Jeroen Ursum. Another car that's off is the SRF of David Gaspers.
Yeah, David Gaspers struggling at times during practice as well. Richard Valle also back there as well, trying to straighten out. He'll lose the most time out of all of them as we're back near the front here on this first lap. Whitten and Canta out in front for the Skip Barber class. Kane Lasky in third. Sonny Kenshin still up in the front for the MX-5s. Followed by Riley Note in that class. C. Love leads in the SRFs.
Gasper having trouble on that incident on the first lap. Remember, he was your fastest SRF driver. He is now at the back of the field. That was a big incident that caught him out.
Yeah, he's going to have to work as hard as he can to get back through this field after that incident to start off, as everyone continues to work their way through the circuit, through the red man corner, now approaching the Hobbs corner.
And honestly, I would like to tell you, it's my job to know, but I have no idea the damage that an SRF gets if it punches a Skippy. This is something I've never seen happen.
Yeah, and to say the least, with some of the SRFs with the spec racer Ford, Jeffrey Gramble, and as well. You mentioned David Gasper's way in the back of the situation as Luke Whitten comes across. As they come across the line, Luke Whitten leads the way to start things off. And you see David Gasper's now pointing in the pits after the first lap situation. There's a couple different drivers in the pits getting repairs now from that incident. Still a long ways to go, but that could very much hurt their days.
Gerson was involved in that one as well, but he's out there. Again, I love to say this in this combination. He's out there in that mighty tough MX-5. Usually the MX-5 is the one that gets punished in multi-class races. Not in this series, baby. As right now he's in a side-by-side battle. He works on C-Love. Jeroen gets that position. He moves up into 12th overall. And would that be 4th in class, I guess?
Yeah, I believe you're right involving that. As you see a couple Skip Barbers, that is C-Love and Steve Ray battling for position right on behind him. And Steve Ray getting a nice little draft. Might go into 3 wide, thinks best of it, as he's going to back out and go back to single file. In between that grouping is Joe McDonald in the MX-5. But look at this, Steve Ray. Great exit on the bottom of that corner. And coming into the revolver corner, he's got the spot. That is now the lead for the SRFs.
Remember, points pay the same for all classes, so that's worth 100 points. Even though he's 14th overall, the classes are equally as valued. That position is just as important as Luke Whitten out in the leading scores.
Yeah, you mentioned Luke Whitten up to a 7/10 of a second lead. At one point at the start of this lap, it was down to 3/10, and he's trying to space things out early. Luke Whitten with a good performance throughout the start of this season, up at the front as they come around for the 3rd lap of the day. Now, Sonny Kenshin, we were talking about him, somebody to watch, coming away today with a win in the MX-5 World Tour as well, as he's in the top 5 in the overall grid for the race.
Yeah, that's his goal. He would really like to get an overall win here if he could. Without Antoniadis in the mix, he's got a shot at it. Each track is a little different, and so I think this one might play into the MX-5's favor here. We'll see how he does. He's able to hold on to the back of Adams right now. That would be for 4th overall.
Yeah, able to hold on right there. Still about a second back in terms of the times, but still closing down the straightaway, in part because of the draft, to show how quick he is in that machine. But back to the front, Enzo Canta still trying to fight to get by Luke Whitten. And some of the tracks to start off the season, we've seen on the long straightaways the ability for drivers to swap back and forth for the Skip Barber lead. Today, it hasn't been that same case because there isn't as long of the straightaways to do that.
Yeah, we'll see how it plays out. A pretty good straight down that back straight. We'll see how the MX-5 plays out on that one as we're looking at Enzo Canta right now, the Italian driver.
And the Italian driver, he has been one of those drivers who has always been at the front to start off the first few rounds of this series, as he's currently in that 2nd spot. As we mentioned, Kane Lasky, he's fallen back a bit, already almost 2 seconds behind them now, losing track of time behind of Canta.
Yeah, Lasky too far back to get any benefit right now for saving fuel. Enzo Canta, the Italian driver, he knows what he's doing. There is no reason for him. There's no bonus points for leading a lap. So what he's doing right back behind Whitten, he's just racing right there, using less fuel. They all start with the same amount of fuel, but that doesn't mean they burn the same amount of fuel. When pit stops happen, look for maybe Canta to do a patch from there and get the lead that way.
I'm glad you mentioned that. The fuel is estimated in this series to last for just over 30 minutes. Skip Barber's limited to 62%, MX-5 35%, the Spec Racer Fords 43%. As we continue to watch that battle up front, why don't we go to those battles between those Spec Racer Fords, shall we? Because Steve Ray still went in front, but having to use Joe McDonald as he picked for that battle.
Now, Ray has distanced himself from his competition, C-Love. I believe this is Ray's first appearance in the series so far. He usually works and he watches this from work. Glad you got the day off, Steve, but right now you are under attack from that MX-5 of Joe McDonald. One of the dynamics of this series is with this mixed class racing and these cars being so equally matched, you'll find these guys, Joe McDonald maybe not the fastest of the MX-5 guys, but yet enough, he's fast enough in that car to be competitive with the fastest SRF driver.
if you look at the lap times between those two different cars you mentioned, Steve Ray and Joe McDonald, it's about a half-tenth of a second lap difference, but they are about, in terms of overall pace, about the exact same as they continue to get things around. Let's get back to the front of the Skip Barbers, though, because Enzo Canna has closed the gap again down to 3/10, and once again, if he gets a mistake from winning to start off the start of this race, he might be able to get the first lead change for the overall lead.
Let's stay on this a minute. This will give us an idea of whether Enzo is serious about leading or if he's just back to playing right now. As he heads down into, I think, I don't have my quarter numbers, maybe my director can help me. This is 7, I believe, down here. This is 4. Oh, here we go, through this one. Now, this is where the passing zone is. If he makes a run down into the hairpin, then he's serious about this. Let's stay on this a minute. If he does to make the move this time, then I think he's just back there waiting. And honestly, he's outplayed. Our length and a half back, and he's losing ground. I think that's a lift. I think that's a definite lift. That's a saving fuel from Enzo.
Probably a smart decision, really, because in some situations, we've seen drivers run out of fuel in the final laps, already thinking that much ahead. That's what you call good strategy in some cases, and this is one of those. Especially since winning is 3 miles per hour faster down those straightaway sections.
Yeah, the less Enzo burns, the less he has to take.
Yeah, exactly. Perfect thing to bring up there. Even with this close battle, Luke Whitten, he's a bit of a fishtail through that section of the track, but able to save it forward, keeps up the gap, still about 3/10. Let's go back a little bit to where you see in second spot someone we haven't really talked about to start off this race, and Michael Hafadason, as he is second in the MX5 class, about a 6/10 of a second gap between him and Riley Rote.
He's working on Cowboy Bob Mills up there for 9th overall. Hafadason, we know him, he races in the skippies usually. That's where GSRC knows him from, in the Absolute Beginner League over there. Usually certainly a top 10 driver, sometimes pokes his nose inside a top 5, trying to run down Mills. Now, Mills is about, oh my goodness, is there some MX-5s behind him? I don't think so. I think he's the last. Well, there is one MX-5 out there on the track. Other than that, he's the last MX-5. So this is what I was talking about, where Hafadason gets to race a driver of that has more challenge skill-wise.
Yeah, but
was that put politically correct? Skill challenge?
I guess so, but here's the thing that's going to make the challenging for him to not only hold the position, but keep the handling, because he's been bobbing back and forth. But we're going to go back to the lead for a second, because Enzo Canna has dived for the lead and has the lead. Able to take the lead going into the hairpin as they come around the Piper corner.
All right, I apologize to all the Italian fans out there that didn't think that Enzo was taking it seriously. Oh my goodness, he is really loose through that corner. He gets to load up those skippies. Having a fun time racing this. They get a little bit loose.
Yeah, that was something seen in practice at times. Drivers getting loose on the corner exit, specifically in the Skip Barbers, as he's currently up in that front now for the Skip Barber class. But basically, that battle for second for the MX-5 seen back up because Hafadason, again, has not only handling issues, he's got damage issues too in the front and back from that first lap situation.
That car's a little shorter than it usually is.
A little shorter, but less aerodynamics. Let's go back.
Go ahead.
I'm going to say let's go into an onboard situation with Riley Rote for the next lap and go sound by sound to hear this intense battle from the voice of the engines. And as you've seen, as you were on board, Riley Rote, the Australian-New Zealand driver, able to get by for the second spot. But at this point, Haflidason, you can see, is starting to have those issues, not just with that damage being with the front bumper being a bit shorter, the aerodynamics of that car too, as well as he is about coming down these straightaways. This one, for example, about 5 miles per hour slower.
Haflidason hanging in there. Might be a best idea maybe to stay behind him, see if he can get that straight line speed increased if he doesn't have to do all the work. Maybe he can let Riley do the work and sit back there as he races in 11th. Let's drop back one position to 12th overall. First in class, that's Steve Ray. Trying to close him down, trying to run him down is Jeroen Ursum. Ursum already has 2 podiums this last time out, racing in 4th right now.
Yeah, and I think going into the sand a little bit will help somewhat for Ursum trying to close on Steve Ray. But right now, Ursum, with even a little tiny bit of damage from that first lap incident, not really affecting them at all compared to Haflidason, who's up in front of them. So this could turn into a battle not just for this position for 12th overall, but for 3rd in the class in a few minutes.
Let's go ahead now. Jason, our director has that first lap incident. Let's go ahead and look at this one. This is the one that that cost David Gaspers a chance at the win.
Yeah, Ron, we brought this up because this is becoming a storyline for some of these drivers in terms of damage. You see Rosenthal's getting loose, getting the back. Ursum flipping and spinning back around middle of the track, having to slide through a couple different drivers, but it kept on going after.
And that SRF you see there on screen right, track left, that was Gaspers. Right on board with Jeroen right now, that's Gasper up in front. And that SRF, you see him off to the left. And there's boom. And then somehow Gasper, I think taking evasive action, I think Gasper got off in the grass, put the car in the wall. And there you see Gasper as we go by. Leave it on the left-hand side. Take one more look at this from above.
Yeah, we're going to see this, as you mentioned, from the above view, where it was too wide at that start. A few laps ago, but we're seeing the ramifications starting to really bubble up from this situation. Gaspers, as you see, hit on the right side hard.
Yeah, he got collected. The car got into him. That just goes to show those SRFs are fragile. That was a SRF versus MX-5, and we know how that one's going to work. The good news for David is there is something, we talk about it all the time, the no-show compensation. It also works for drop rates. Well, actually it doesn't. Let me apologize. One of the things about this series is whatever happens on the track counts. So I got to switch gears there for a minute. I'm going to say he'll just be able to drop it. But no, that's one of the beauties of this series. And if it happens here, it's going to count. So that is going to be costly.
Yeah, Gaspers and Antonides are the 2 drivers that are currently in the garage area for this event. But you see right now on your screen, Haflidason was able to get by Riley Rote again for second in the MX-5 class.
And our leader, boy, Whitten got really loose trying to chase down the winner in the leader in the Skippies. If I didn't know better, I would think that it was really hot out there, but it isn't. Our weather today, it's partly cloudy. I'm going to give you this in Fahrenheit, so if you're metrically inclined, do the translation. 79 degrees Fahrenheit, track temperature only 88 degrees, and those long shadows, those are some morning shadows, sun not all the way up yet. Should be good racing for these guys.
Yeah, it has been good racing to start off, really. Everyone's starting to get into the rhythm in terms of where they are on the track, making sure they get some good runs. And so far, the main passing area for some of these drivers has been the hairpin corner, coming towards the revolver corner and Piper corner. And in this case, I think Whitten, if he wants to keep up, might be trying to position himself again for that great entrance, meanwhile, into Atwood corner, and able to close back up the gap that he was starting to have happen from Cantup.
So often on these broadcasts, we get complaints that we only cover the leaders. Right now, though, as is so often the case here in this series, the best action is up front between Canton and Whitten. Canton out in front.
And I think something just happened with C-Love. Nope, he is okay, but it's perfect time to bring him up. Because while he did blink, he is still second in the SRFs. At one point, it was a battle with him and Steve Ray, but now at this point, he is comfortably in second in the class by 33 seconds.
Yeah, in this SRF, I think Steve Ray must be part Italian Bolt because he is gondola. Once he got around C Love, it was Katie barred the door. He now has there's ton of time between him and Love in third. We'll see where Love stands in relationship to the guy who's chasing him. Oh boy, it's a long way back to Jeffrey Gramble. Now here's a good battle though. 16th overall, third in class. This is Gambrel and Valley.
Yeah, Valley trying to rebound from having to spin to avoid that incident on lap 1 we keep referring to, as this is going to be starting to heat up this battle for third to get on the podium for the Spec Racer Fords. Jeffrey Gramble able to run on the more higher line coming out of Hobbs Corner, and I think it might be a potential bonsai move if Valet might be trying to do that for Mike Knight Corner. No, this is coming towards Pardon Me into the hairpin corner. As Pardon Me, my map is completely upside down, as Campbell still keeping the position through the hairpin. As you mentioned, this is starting to heat up as a battle. And again, I brought this up in the earlier race when I was broadcasting with Joe Peak during the Camel GTs. Even if you have a bad day or a bad situation, get back on the track if you can and run fairly competitive laps, because it can help you in the overall standings. And Enzo Canta just went into the pits. I think he just took the early pit stop, very early in fact.
He's in and out.
Yeah, 28.3 seconds. We did mention the fuel could last about 30 minutes or so, or just about 30 minutes. So based on this logic, because we just passed we're almost, I should say, at the 20-minute mark, his logic might be, okay, I'm going to get fuel and make sure I don't have to worry about the pit stop until later. Am I correct?
Yeah, I'm not sure about this one. Here's my problem with this one. One, Canta was slower in qualifying than Whidden. Whidden is out there right now racing with a lighter Skippy because it has less fuel. I imagine his lap times are going to be better. Man, I don't know. I think when this is all said and done, I think Whidden's going to have a large lead.
Yeah, we're going to have to see, but this is going to take another about, say, 15 minutes to really resolve itself. We'll see if that strategy ends up going the wayside or paying off for Enzo Canta. He's all the way back in 15th overall behind C Love. Luke Whidden, meanwhile, now a 2.4 second lead, way on his own. Kane Lasky, we haven't talked about much, is in second, with Rob Adams trying to catch up for the third spot in the Skip Barber class.
Yeah, Lasky and Adams have been racing. Adams has just been following them around about that same interval, about a second back. These guys have left behind. Gridley now has moved into fourth, and any shots of the overall championship from Sonny Catchin. I think he's going to have to wait another week. He's racing fifth overall right now. It'll probably be a little bit, probably sixth when we bring Canta back into the mix. Of course, Sonny comfortably out in front in his class, though.
Yeah, Sonny Kenshin, the Australian driver, right in the middle of the open plane for the MX-5s. And it's maybe about a 25-second lead, give or take, for the MX-5 class, showing the dominance for him. He showed that luck today and dominance earlier on, as mentioned, and he is wide open on that one. Let's go back, though, to second, because Wiley wrote in Michael Hoffmadaisen. That battle is starting to close up a little bit again. Hoffmadaisen and Rode have been going back and forth for second, as you see Kane Lasky on your screen.
We look at that battle for second, trying to find out what happened to Richard Valley. Remember, Valley was in a battle with for a spot, but now he's fallen well behind. Oh, I got it. Okay, that was with Gambrell. So there we go. Valley has actually pulled ahead of Gambrell. There we go. Thank you, Director.
Yes, thank you very much, Director. Making sure we do not catch on fire in this broadcast booth thanks to the suede couches. But Valley is still, as you mentioned, now in third spot, recovering from that spin. And there was absolutely no damage on this machine. It is very clean driving from him. And that's exactly what you need to do to catch up to a driver like C Love, who is way, way up the road, 38 seconds.
I know this is going to be way before your time, Justin, but of course, if you're a fan of the Four Seasons, it's nice to see the Richie Valley out here racing with us.
Yeah. Okay, yeah. Of course, as you mentioned, way out of my time period for that. But regardless.
Harry baby, walk like a man. Come on, man.
I honestly have never heard that song before.
We'll educate you before you're done here. It's a long season.
Speaking of education, few drivers going to get some education again on having to deal with some lap traffic here. Luke Whitten has just passed by the first of the Spec Racer Fords, Jeffrey Graham Bell, letting on the first drivers in the Skip Barbers on by. As you see him, he is fourth in the class at the back of the field right now. Last on the lead lap was at one point, I should say, as he's letting those drivers on by. That's where you're starting to see a little bit of traffic starting to come into play.
Go ahead.
I was going to say, how much of a factor do you think this is going to keep on going as the race continues to go on, really, as this continues, I should say?
Well, we're looking at 22 minutes of racing to go. Pit stops are going to open up for most of these guys pretty soon. To pull back the curtain on a GSRC broadcast, I did an update on one of my favorite softwares. I will not mention the name of it, but it is 3 initials, and I depend on it. The update isn't working for me right now, so I can't give you an interval between Whitten and Kanta, between those two drivers.
Speaking of something that doesn't need an interval, Steve Ray just pulled into the pits.
There you go, our leader in the SRFs coming in.
Yes.
Our director can give me that number. 55 seconds from Whitten to Kanta now.
Yes, and Kanta working his way through the lap traffic, as I think something just happened to Sonny Kenshin.
Sonny is not on the track for me. Let's see if we can find out what happened to him. Did he just blink away? I got him.
I believe so. His ping has rose up to 266. His quality, 44. That means one thing. Receive pull-through. And that means one thing. That's going to really change up the MX-5 class if that is the case, guys.
Somebody give Jeroen Ursum a call. Tell him there's a win in the possibilities here. He's only got to get around Riley Road and Mikkel Hoflandason to get the win. We're supposed to say neutral here in the GSRC commentator's booth. Come on, Jeroen! That puts Riley Road now in the lead of the MX-5s by 1.4 seconds over Mikkel Hoflandason.
Yeah, puts the spotlight on him, absolutely. Hoflandason almost hit the tire wall coming out of the Piper corner, but still has that in second, I should say. Jeroen Ursum really now has to start working on this because Kenshin, we received that confirmation, did disconnect due to connection issues. As we're going to go on board with Hoflandason to show that exit out of the Piper corner, how close he came to smacking the tire wall.
Yeah, this track is not forgiving, especially right here. Not only can you hit the outside, but you can get the tires off on the right side. You can loop that around, nose it in on the left side.
Yeah, that was...
I think when I first signed up for iRacing, they asked me to stop racing this track because I was actually damaging the platform.
Oh, really? Oh, really?
Yeah, I was hitting that wall a lot.
How much do they charge you to replace those tires?
Now, it was okay. They just said, stop, go to a different track. So, it's okay. Now it's turn 5 at Road Atlanta. Meanwhile, Riley Road out in front, leading our MX-5s. We got a battle now.
Yes, we got that battle indeed right now. 1.5 seconds back, Hoflandason to Road as trying to close that up. Multiple pit stop situations going on at the same time of note too. So keep in mind, Joe McDonald has just pit the first of the MX-5s. Also to watch Cameron Gridley on the same strategy as Enzo Kanta now. So a lot of things to really pay attention to. The moving parts are really starting to move, especially with Kanta now reaching Hoflandason right now, coming out of the Piper corner.
It's good when those moving parts move. I'm always a fan of that. We're looking at Hoflandason in second, trying to run down Road. Road had an exciting event last time out. He was really a magnet for action. But look at that. Now, this is one of the problems I have with this strategy that Kanta has. He's dealing now with Hofladezen. Kanta clearly faster than Hofladezen, but he's stuck behind him. This is great news for Luke Whidden. Luke Whidden, the biggest fan of Mikkel Hofladezen that there is right now. There, the Skippy's going to get around him.
Yeah, and as you see, able to get to the ends, to the right side, I should say, coming down the front straightaway. And now he's got to work with the MX5 leader of Riley Rote. Still that strategy to watch for. Keep in mind, does he have enough fuel is one of the main questions, I think. Jerome Ursum now in for the MX5s.
Ursum racing in third, wants to get this clean in case those two drivers ahead of him, Riley Rote and Mikkel Hofladezen, get together.
Yeah, and keep in mind, for example, as well, Joe McDonald way on back. Jerome Ursum at least is going to be locked into third, coming out of the pit box. And that's exactly what he will do. Getting you to the rest of those battles on track right now with the Skip Barbers. Luke Whidden still out in front, as Enzo Kanta currently at the back of that grouping of the main drivers out on that front. King Lasky in second. Riley Rote leading off the MX5s as Kanta works on past him. While leading off is C. Love now back out in front in the SRFs.
Needs a pit stop, though, because Steve Ray has made that stop, and boy, he is not that far back. Only 14 seconds between C. Love and Steve Ray, but Ray's already come in for his. The question would be, will Love be able to get out before Richie Valley comes all the way around?
Yeah, that's going to be, I think, one of the main questions, because here's the thing with that, too. Steve Ray has the fastest pit stop by far on the track, 11 seconds on the track. Possibly getting a little bit less fuel to save some time on the track. Question is, will he have enough fuel in the next 16 minutes to make it to the checker flag? We will find out, of course.
I would think he's pretty comfortable in his position right now. Still waiting for everybody, but it's getting darn close here. So we only have, like you said, about 16 minutes to go. Everybody's got to be coming in pretty soon.
And we got a battle for fifth now overall. That is also for the Skip Barber fifth spot. Gary Woolbolt, someone we haven't talked much about, battling now with Bob Mills as they approach the hairpin corner. And you can see Woolbolt trying to use the draft. Still a bit faster into the entry. Bob Mills, Woolbolt backing up a bit, trying to position himself for a decent exit out of the hairpin as they approach the revolver corner into the Piper.
Not a lot of passing zones here. You just want to get a good drive off of Piper, because there is a passing zone down into this next left-hander. Wilbur too far back, though, to get this done right now.
In fact, he had a bad exit, in fact, from Piper corner to be unable to position himself for that pass into Redmond as they'll move their way through Hobbs corner. And they're still single file. This battle continuing to be something to watch. We'll update you as much as we can on that battle. Meanwhile, things settling down really around across the track. Jeffrey Gramble, though, in the pits, I believe, as Woolbolt just brought it in, pardon me.
Yeah, if he pulls off from Bob Mills, maybe thinking that Mills might be slowing him down a bit, he'll come in, do this one quick. One advantage to running the run long and making a short stint at the very end, it's more easy to calculate how much fuel you really need. He only needs 15 minutes of fuel. He can probably better guess what he needs, rather than if you come in with 30 minutes to go.
So let's say there's somebody that doesn't know the exact totals for that. What do you think that total would be to have 15 minutes of fuel for this specific car, the Skip Barbers?
Oh, I have no idea. I always fill it up to the top, and that's why I'm guaranteed that I finish, and that's my excuse for finishing so badly. So that's a strategy from the back marker. Yeah.
Okay, yeah, that's an interesting strategy, I'll say that.
My dad taught me to always fill it up in case there's a disaster. You always want to have a full tank of gas. So that's the rule I use in iRacing as well. Hofladezen out.
And Hofladezen 14.3. Riley Rote also came in with a time 6 seconds faster.
Crushed him.
8.7 seconds did Riley Rote top it up with as little as he could. Could be that same situation to get enough fuel to make it to 15 minutes.
Let me do a quick look to see how those times compare here. I'm going to have to use an alternate software. 8.7. Oh my goodness. You know what? You may be onto something there, Justin. That 8.7 is really, really fast. 14 seconds for Ursum. 16 seconds for McDonald. I don't think 8.7. I don't think you can get enough fuel. You got to listen to my dad, Riley. Fill it up.
Yeah, you got it.
All right, now a director mentions that Ursum and McDonald had damage, so maybe that's what's happened. I wish there are no MX-5s to compare them with, as Kancha never made a stop.
Yeah, still, they do have that damage, as you mentioned, to deal with a little bit, but that could be something a bit to watch for. We will wait to see what will happen with that. But right now, Luke Whitten still leading in the Skip Barbers, working his way in open traffic. Kane Lasky has fallen to 4.8 seconds back, as you just seen him move by Jerome Ursum through the lap traffic.
If Riley Rote doesn't have to take another pit stop, go ahead, email GSRC, and we'll buy you a free Big Mac, okay? Send that in. I am positive Riley Rote has to come in one more time.
Okay.
This is the same thing I just said in the MX-5 World Tour when Sonny Ketchen, I swore he had to pit as well. I'm positive, though, that's what's going on. How about Steve Ray? He got that spot back now because C. Love finally had to come in and make that stop. Steve Ray is just crushing it in that SRF. Welcome to the series. I believe he is the series organizer, hasn't been able to race first time this season, so good to see the man in charge doing well.
I remember seeing him in the comment section of the round 2 race saying he was watching at work, and his boss seen he was watching at work. Maybe he convinced his boss, hey, I think it'd be more worth my time for these days to race. Maybe you could join us eventually. Maybe pitch him that.
Let's do a quick rundown of the classes here real quick. Let's start with the SRFs. That is, we just talked about Steve Ray. He is comfortably out in front over C. Love, who have made his pit stop. C. Love in second. And then Justin, Richie Valley must be thinking it's just too good to be true, as he is sitting in third.
Yeah, after that spin to start off the race, recovering to get the third in the class. As we continue to run down the field, let's go to the Skip Barber, shall we again? Something we've mentioned a few times. Luke Whitten has that overall lead, started on the pole with a 5.2 second lead over Kane Lasky. Kane Lasky, of course, was keeping up at one point, but dropped back as time went on during this race to him. Rob Adams has also fallen back from Lasky in third spot now. Has Rob Adams in that top 3 spot in the green machine, followed by Thomas Kick and Bob Mills rounding out your top 5. Now, to your MX-5s, Riley Rote with that 8.7 second pit stop is going to be something to watch for the rest of this race, as he is currently in the first spot for the MX-5s, followed by Michael Hoffadezen, who sits in second spot. That is about a 7.6 second gap between those two different drivers. Jerome Ursum and Joe McDonald are the other 2 drivers on the track still, in part because Sonny Ketchen's router decided to take a quick nap.
Hoffadezen just got passed by our overall leader, Luke Whitten. With 10 minutes to go, Luke, the pit stop, the pit box is calling.
We'll see if the pit box, if he decides to hear the pit box's phone calls, as right now he is still in that lead with a big time gap. Really a lot of things to go. As long as you don't make a mistake, it's going to be something to watch from here on out. As we see your views above right now for that first spot, Luke Whitten through the hairpin section with Kane Lasky and some of the MX-5s following him right now. He has been absolutely dominant this race, has the fastest time, only lap time in the race to go with a 142.6 or 142 at all, as Richard Valley brought it back into the pits.
Still looking, remember, Whitten is really racing a man who's on the other side of the track. Whitten is racing the Italian driver Enzo Canta. Canta has made a stop. Whitten has not. Now, the last time we talked about it, the interval was 55 seconds. Talk about it now, 57 seconds. Lighter car, I'm telling you, Whitten's out there, less fuel. He's going around one more time. They don't take tires, so there's no advantage to coming in early, not like you're getting fresh rubber.
Yeah, you've seen when coming out of the pits, pardon me, there with Richard Valley, that some of these drivers for the Skip Barbers near the middle of the pack, and specifically Bob Mills coming out of the pits, these skip barbers are starting to bring it on in with 8 minutes to go, so they are now starting to look at their fuel gauges. Rob Adams now in from third.
Remember, Mills was racing farther up. He was in that battle for fifth. He's fallen back now that stop has been made. So who are we waiting for? Whidden, Lasky, and the Strudelmeister, Thomas Kick. Can we put the camera on him real quick? We know him from the MX-5, the German driver. Works in a strudel factory. He is the strudel foreman right now, following C. Love.
That's got to be an interesting job to be a strudel foreman, pardon me. Also trying to maybe add a little bit of sand to that mix. Probably not the most delicious thing, but still keeps the car going properly.
He set around as he gets around. That was C. Love, the driver in second in the SRFs.
Yep, in third spot, still having a pit, Thomas Kick, with Kane Lasky and Luke Whidden. Enzo Canna has got himself to fifth, but here's the one thing. Rob Adams is way ahead right now, coming out of when he came out of the pits in fourth. Yeah, and Rob Adams might be a possible similar comparison to Riley Rote. 11.7 seconds was the stop. That is 5 seconds slower than the rest of the field for the guy in fourth spot. Could this be the move that wins him the race? Still behind 57, 58 seconds in total delta.
Luke Whidden is in.
Pardon me, 43. And thank you very much for bringing that up. Luke Whidden now in. This is where we can find out. Whidden in along with Kane Lasky. Very quick stop from Whidden. In fact, at 8.2 second stop, he is back out of the pits. As Thomas Kick also going to bring it on in. Enzo Canis not even out through the S's yet, while Rob Adams is coming down the straightaway.
Enzo, who was racing for second, remember, he was in the mix with Whidden. Now he's going to be relegated back, behind Lasky, behind Adams. Now Kick, of course, has not made his stop. Kick is in right now. Is Kanta certainly going to get Kick? Here, let's watch this. Kanta going by. Yeah, Kick's still in his box.
Yeah, Kick had to back out for a split second, possibly outrunning the box for a split second, losing him a couple seconds on the track.
There goes Cameron Gridley by in the Skippy.
Yeah, and Thomas Kick losing a ton of time. Still in the pits. 25, 26 seconds. Yeah, 25.4, filling it up to the top. In this case, that filling up to the top strategy loses him a ton of time.
I'd like to go ahead and check lap times here with Riley Rote. If he is indeed having trouble with fuel, he would be going slower. His last 3 laps, 146.4, 146.3, 146.2. How does that compare to what he was doing mid-race? 145.9, a little slower.
Yeah, but here's the thing, that could also come into comparison with tire management or tire wear as well. Because, as you mentioned, you don't need to take tires, but these still wear out a bit as the race goes on. But for Rote, he's still got to try and find a way to keep this 8-second gap between him and second. Bob Mills is behind him.
Remember, if you want that free Big Mac, send that email care of Joe Peak at GSRC, okay?
And add the CC to Joe McDonald with his McDonald's machine.
That'll work too. That's all right. See
that will work too.
In.
Yep, get yourself some free Big Macs, as Luke Whidden still has to work his way through traffic. He has got now an 8-second gap in his class, as you see him zooming right on by Jerome Ursum.
With Joe McDonald in that McDonald's car, we'll see if we get some of these German drivers to race like a Wiener Schnitzel car. That would be good. Just thinking. A little cross-promotion.
Yeah, that'd be something really interesting. I'm surprised someone has not thought of that yet.
I'm not.
But right now.
That was not one of my better ideas. This is what you get when we got 4 minutes left of racing and we cannot find a battle. You got one?
Well, we don't have a battle, but we do have Hoffa Days in, almost smacking that tire wall again, this time via side swipe. As can we get the replay on that? We are going to go to the GSRC replay to show that situation, because guess what? This was coming once again, Piper Corner. Again, second time this race, he's come very close to the tire wall. This time, wide out of the revolver corner, messes up the entry for Piper, sideswipes it, doesn't touch the wall, basically drifting around, possibly acting as if he was using an e-brake.
That's McKill just looking for a little screen time. Putting it close to the wall but not hitting. Next time, go ahead and hit the wall. Come on, be a man.
Possibly not wanting to add some extra damage to that. You see this above him now, how sideways he was really in the grass, basically parallel with that tire wall as he's still running in second. So that really helps Riley Road in terms of time because of that mistake with 3 minutes to go.
Yeah, Riley, of course, 3 minutes to go. Just about time for that car to start sputtering. Come on, Riley. Make me look smart.
We're going to see if he does end up making you look smart as he goes into the hairpin turns. A few laps to go. By my calculations and estimates, maybe a lap and a half to 2 laps to go before the white flag will come out. As Riley Rote leading that class, Luke Whitten still leads Skip Barbers. And Steve Ray in those SRFs still on the absolute dominating tear as everyone's really separated themselves out on the track at this point.
Can't wait to see if Steve come back and race again. He has been so dominant. I'd love to see how he matches up against David Gasper. Gasper, of course, what we believe is the points leader, got into an early lap 1 incident, didn't race.
Nice, an unfortunate situation for Gaspers, but of course, might have that chance, of course, as the season goes on, to recover the points. In part because, of course, with the rules, with the drop dates and whatnot.
Oh, yeah.
Regardless, though, it's still Steve Ray out in front of that class. But right now, no one really making any sort of mistakes in the rhythm points. 1 minute, 47 seconds to go. Let's look at the position of Luke Whitten as he comes down the front straightaway. And this could potentially be the white flag lap with about 1 minute 38 on the clock. And it should be, according to our director, Joe Peak. So he could have the white flag come out just as he's working his way through the Mike Knight corner.
Just to update you, Riley Rote's lap time, say that 3 times fast, look consistent. I don't think he's in any trouble running out of fuel. Riley, you fooled me.
We're going to have to definitely make sure of what the exact fuel left in that machine is once we get past the checker flag. As right now, it's currently Luke Whitten approaching that said flag. Less than a minute to go, heading towards the hairpin turn with no one near in sight for position. An 8.9 second gap over Kane Lasky with the most dominant race of the day. The only driver still in the 142s, in part because of where he is on the track. No one in sight, except for the MX-5s in front of him and Michael Hoffadezen. As right now, he just works his way out of the Piper corner again. Pure domination since the drop of the green flag. As he's going to get himself ready for this white flag, working his way through Hobbs corner. As the white flag might be coming out and should come out as soon as he comes out towards the last corner. 10 seconds on the clock. Make it 7 as he's going to come out of the last corner. Will the white flag come out before he reaches the start and finish line? Yes, I believe it will, as Luke Whitten wins in the Skip Barbers for round number 4 of the Ashbury Motorsports Sports Car Challenge Series.
Our first 2-time winner in that class. Looks like Steve Ray right behind him. He's going to come across in the SRF, get that win.
Yes, and you see exactly that, crossing the checkered flag. He was one of the last drivers passed by Luke Whitten as he comes to the checkered flag. Here's the main person to watch. Riley Rote leading in the MX-5s with a big gap of about 20 seconds. Does he have enough fuel to get around? With where he's at, he's still got a long ways to go, about a half a track, as Michael Hoffadezen is in second still.
Page 17 of the GSRC Commentator's Handbook. Find drama whenever you can. Will Riley Rote begin to sputter? We're pretty confident this is Riley's last lap. He has not been around yet. I think he's heading towards the checkered flag. There is some debate whether he is actually crossed right behind these, but I think this is it coming up.
Yes, I believe so as well. This will be the 26th lap for the MX-5s on course. But for Riley Rote, I think he's in the safe situation where if he runs out of fuel and starts sputtering, he might be able to coast his way around. as he's still at 125, 135 kilometers an hour, working his way towards the last corner, as he's going to do it. He's going to make his way with the quickest stop by far to come to the checkered flag. Riley Rote wins it in the MX-5s for round number 4.
Gail Hoffler-Dason and Jeroen Ursum round out your podium.
And an absolutely great performance from a lot of different drivers, as that will send us to break. We'll get some water bottles and get you wrapped up with your results and your driver interviews for the Ashbury Motorsports Sports Car Challenge Series. Way back here on GSRC in just a few moments. And welcome back, everyone, to Western Japan after what was an exciting race to watch for 45 minutes of action for the Ashbury Motorsports Sports Car Challenge Series from the Okayama International Circuit. Let's head to your results here from today's virtual race as Luke Whitten came away with the victory, started on the pole for the Skip Barbers, came away with the W as he's cruised to a 9.7 second win over Kane Lasky. As Lasky started third, moved into second as Rob Adams came away third. Enzo Canta, he messed up on the pit stop strategy he mentioned after today's race, and also just so happened to mention he had force feedback issues. He still managed to finish up in the top 5 and 4th. Cameron Gridley came away 5th, about 11 seconds back of Kanta, as Thomas Kick and Gary Woolbolt finished off 6th and 7th in the Skip Barbers. Riley Rote came away with the MX5 victory for today, meanwhile, as he came away with a decent distance over Michael Hoffadezen, who finished 10th overall. Bob Mills is the sandwich for Rote and Hoffadezen. Soup?
Steve Ray in 11th overall picks up the win in the SRF, finishing ahead of C. Love and Richie Valley. Jeroen Ursum and Joe McDonald come home. Let's see where that would be. 3rd and 4th in class in the MX5 as I jump you around a little bit. We go down to Jason Rosenthal. Now, he had some issues early on that caused some guys to run into trouble. Jeffrey Gambrell. Then I get to 3 names down here that are big. Sonny Ketton, your overall MX5 leader, had trouble. Disconnects, does not finish. David Gasper, your overall SRF leader, runs into trouble on lap 1, does not finish. Fahim Antonatus, part of your overall lead in the Skippies, has bad connection problems, cannot even enter the race. He does not race.
And that's going to absolutely change up the point standings heading into the next week, that's for sure. But why don't we speak to our first driver, shall we? Let's talk to Steve Ray and sit him down onto our suede couches, guys, as coming away with the Spec Racer 4 victory today. How are you, Steve?
Doing pretty good, thank you.
Can
you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay.
Sometimes the mics do get some interference from the suede couches, but no, not right now. But regardless, you came away with a good victory for you. How did you really do it to keep the consistency that you did for the whole race and to get as big of a distance as you did over the second place C. Love?
Well, I don't know if it would have been the same if David hadn't had issues and crashed out, but I got a little bit of practice in this week. I've been sick with a flu, so I skipped work all week. Yeah, I finally got one in. I don't know if I'll get many more, but I had been practicing the pit entry to see how hard I could push that service road as well, too. So I think that gained me a little bit.
Steve, it's Soup here. I was a little worried to use your real name in case the boss was watching, but okay.
No worries.
I like the series. I think if we get a few more, I know you're part of organizing. I think we get a few more drivers in hit. The combination of these cars, you got to be happy with that.
Yeah, I really like it. It's fun to watch it, and to see it grow and everything would be awesome.
Well, it's great to have you here. Hopefully, you can get a few days off. We'll see you race 1 or 2 more times before the season starts.
All right, guys. Thanks a lot for what you do. Great job.
Thanks, Steve. Justin?
Thank you very much for the time, Steve. Maybe you can convince your boss to come and get yourself back into the driver's seat, as we're going to bring in Michael Hoffadezen, as Michael Hoffadezen coming away second in the MX5, Soup.
Mikhail, weird to see you in a car with fenders. I'm so used to seeing you in the Skippy. Why'd you choose to do the MX5 instead of the Skippy?
Mikhail Hoffadezen, do you have a copy?
Mikhail would answer me that he was worried that the competition in the Skippy was just too heavy, that he thought there was an opportunity because the MX5 was small to fill that up. Am I right, Mikhail?
I think he might be having a little bit of mic issues, but we are going to bring in Jeroen Ursum instead, because he came away in 3rd. As Jeroen Ursum, do you have a copy?
I do.
All right, perfect. Of course, you came away in what was a bit at the back to start off, a little tiny bit of a hectic start to the race. Still came away with that front damage regardless in your pink My Little Pony machine in 3rd. What did you do to try and get yourself into that position?
Well, I was amazed about the strength of the MX5, to be honest. There was one Skippy right in front of me, and I bumped him about 2-3 meters away from me. And I didn't see any damage, but I noticed my lap times were dropping a bit. Now I see the replay, I see it was well damaged, so not so happy about that, because could have been a little bit more than 3rd.
Yeah, when Jeroen is Soup here, when Sonny went out, all of a sudden, all the hopes of Dutchmen all around the world were raised there with a chance for maybe you to to get a win.
Yeah, I can hear all the wooden shoes banging together outside. It was insane. But at least, well, I finished on the podium again. And I managed to beat Sonny Kenshin, so it's a good day.
Yeah, beat Sonny.
Yeah, you beat Sonny, came on the podium. Good day for you, really. How do you plan to keep up this momentum?
Yeah, well, keep showing up, doing my races, not crashing out. That's about the plan.
That's a very decent plan, I guess, as well. Maybe get a little bit of luck as well from a sleeping router. We'll find out, of course. But
Yeah.
Congratulations on the podium finish today.
Yeah, thank you.
And that was Jerome Ursum, again, speaking with us, third in the MX-5s. Real quickly, I should say, Soup, what are your final thoughts after round 4 of this event today, especially at a track like this, where there's a lot of different events and competition today?
I'm just grinning ear to ear after talking with Steve, and he's sick, and we can use his real name because the boss isn't watching, and then Jeroen dropping the wooden shoes, clapping. Gotta love it. It's amazing that we've been able to talk to all these guys from around the world. If we get a few more drivers in here, this thing is really going to heat up. So let your friends and families, your neighbors, your cats and your dogs know this is a good series. Let's build up that reputation, these fields a little bit larger.
I agree with you, and we're going to test out one quick thing. Miguel Hoffadezen, do you hear us this time?
I should be hearing you this time.
There we
Just
go.
thought we would try that right there, as we're going to give Soup this interview, why don't we?
Well, I'll set you up with the question that I did before. Why go with a fendered car instead of your familiar Skippy that we see over in the Absolute Beginner League?
To be fair, I have absolutely no clue. I just felt like doing something else, but for the next race, I might do the Skippy. I mean, I want to try different things and try to show off as many cars as possible.
Fun to race in this class, because not only do you end up racing with the guys that are around you in your own class, but you'll end up racing with some of the slower guys in the Skippies, because the lap times are not that different between the classes. Did you have any good battles with some of the other guys?
No, the Skippies were too fast, and Spec Racer was a little bit too far behind me. So I actually ended up in no man's land.
Well, it's always great to see a race. You come home with the second, didn't get the win, but we're looking forward to you. What is this? We'll get you this since we're on the off season, the Absolute Beginners. You're looking forward to coming back to another season over there. Can we expect to see you when that thing rolls around?
You can expect to see me trying to beat Aero, man.
Trying to beat Errol Numb. That's what. God, I like Mikhail Hoffman days. Good. Thanks for showing up. Good luck the rest of the way. Hope to see you back for some more races.
Yes, of course. Thanks for having me.
And that was Miguel Hoffadezen. Thank you very much for the time with that. And with that, we'd like to thank everyone at the Quality Racing Sim-dicate as well for organizing this series and contacting GSRC for these beautiful broadcasts. We'd also like to say thank you to our software and hardware providers that we use on your screen right now for our broadcasts. The original music that comes with every GSRC production that adds the unique flavor and feel for our broadcasts is thanks to Eric Elcombe and Case Lalonde. See the screen for how to contact each of them right now. Now, Soup, the Ashbury Motorsports Sports Car Challenge Series is returning in 2018 again for January 13th at Interlagos. GSRC will be at the virtual version of São Paulo, Brazil, to bring you all the action. We hope to see you for that exciting round number 5 for this series. And for more information on the GSRC, your best bet is to also go to globalsimracingchannel.com. We're also at Twitter on GSR Channel or at Facebook at Global Sim Racing Channel. Finally, on the behalf of everyone, from Bill Soupson and Joe Peak along with Dougie Beard, I'd like to wish everyone a happy race and congratulations for a clean race. Thank you for once again watching, and once again, until next time, race clean, race hard, and else we'll see you on the track.